Welcome back, everyone, to 1 Minute Recess, where we break down what the fuck is going on around the world and here at home in Nevada, because we live in Nevada. My name is Annette Magnus, and this is my co-host.
I'm Maria Teresa, and welcome to another week of Asking What the Fuck. Let's just dive right in, Annette.
Yeah, we better before the internet glitches for the 5th time tonight.
Exactly.
I thought we were out of retrograde. I was so excited. We're like, internet's gonna improve. Retrograde. No, it's Cox.
Cox stepped in and said, no way.
Cox stepped in and coxed us.
Literally.
Right. All right, let's get into the internet comments. What did Big Ball 6969 have to say? Our friend.
All right. Our dear friends, Big Ball 6969.
And others.
And his friends have chimed in once again. And we're just going to go through some.
Keep bringing it, friends. Keep bringing the comments. We love them.
We love this. Keep it up. Keep it up. And usually Annette doesn't read these at all, and I read some of them. I haven't read any of them because we have jobs. And so we're both just going to be pleasantly surprised.
Hang on. We have jobs, and we're both United States citizens who have jobs in the United States of America for all of the MAGA trolls in the Also, keep calling us fat.
Keep it coming. Show me your weight on your scale if you do. I love this so much. Joshua, this is on voter ID. Joshua, There's random numbers. Joshua -FO, great username, says, opened a bank account 3 weeks ago. 2 forms of ID use, Social Security card and a copy of my birth certificate. Social Security card is an ID card. It does not count as a photo ID, which is true, but also when you register to vote, your identification is verified.
You know, it's crazy that the Social Security number is one of the highest forms of identifications in this country. And you need your Social Security card, and your Social Security card is the one that they tell you to hide, keep safe, because you don't want anybody stealing that number, because that uniquely tells the government who you are when you do things like file taxes or get married. You have to change that before you can change anything else. So it's crazy that that's the form of ID and or a driver's license that you would use to register to vote. So they verify your identity.
You want to get extra crazy in it? Because we always talk about how in the voter registration process, this is all built in, especially here in Nevada. If you put in your social into your voter registration and any other forms of identification, they have ways to verify if you're a citizen, if you're already registered to vote, and they will let you know, hey, you're a citizen. It is a crime for you to do this. You are not registered to vote, friend. Or if you're a duplicate, they will say, you're a duplicate. What do you want to do with your registration?
You know what's even funnier about this? That I love these people in the comments about the voter ID situation, because I was thinking about this since our conversation last week. We have this fun thing in Nevada called automatic voter registration. It came on 2022, 2023, really came online. And the way they do that is when you have a driver's license at the DMV and you are a United States citizen, you have to have both those things, right? You get a driver's license and you have a identification, because now you have to have a real ID that shows you are a United States citizen. So you do show your birth certificate, right? You do show all these other identifiers because you have a real ID. So you've done those extra steps to show you're a United States citizen. Then they register you automatically if you're not already registered to vote. Then you can change your voter registration, party, things like that. But you are automatically registered to vote in the state of Nevada once you have an ID. And you have gone through all the steps to identify you're a United States citizen and you're an eligible voter. So most of the people on the rolls have gone through extra steps to ensure they are United States citizens and they have an ID. You don't need to do it again. It's just an extra step that makes it so people don't go vote.
Exactly. And as we've said many times before, friends, there's a difference between this voter ID verifying who you are when you're voting so that they can verify that Annette is Annette, the registered voter. That's why we have things like the questions you get asked, like where do you live, and the signature verification if you're voting by mail. And it's like they figured this out already. and it's a non-existent problem, which is what Alfredo Vasquez commented on.
Good
Alfredo
job,
Vasquez
Alfredo.
on YouTube. It's a lengthy one, but I'll try to
What is
summarize
it?
empirical. Yeah, this is, I mean, he gave, I'll just, you know what, Alfredo, you put in the work. Let's read it. Empirical
Okay.
studies over decades show that in-person voter impersonation, the only fraud photo ID meaningfully addresses, is vanishingly rare. And by the way, those people usually get caught. And those people are usually Republicans, by the way, at least in
And those
Nevada.
people usually get prosecuted if they try. And
Exactly.
we're all for that.
Exactly. This is vanishingly rare, with only a handful of cases found among hundreds of millions of ballots throughout our voting history. The reason that Republicans suddenly want to erect these front end barriers at the polling place for an issue that doesn't really exist is because they know that their chances at the midterm elections look very bad, and the attempt to add seats by way of Texas didn't work. So now this is their attempt to save themselves in a different way. How pathetic.
And just a fun fact, we were recording this on Tuesday, March 24th. I just saw a thing on CNN that said another tight race in Florida fell to the Democrats, and it's the area that represents Mar-a-Lago.
Yes.
And the Democrats won. That's why Donald Trump wants this. That's why they want the SAVE Act. Nobody's committing voter fraud. They just don't want you to vote, dummies.
Exactly.
And they're trying to disenfranchise as many human beings as possible, including their own people.
Well, that's what you say. But Matthew Saucier hyphen L2K says if we had voter ID, Trump would never have been president. So I think we need to pass the voter ID since Trump cheated the elections, because if we don't get voter ID next election, we might be saying long live King Trump. I don't want to say long live King Trump, but none of that is true. You can hate Trump and say our system is working and not want voter ID. That disenfranchises people.
Looping the loop, right? You're half right. Probably did cheat somehow, but it wasn't through our voting system, because Nevada has one of the best voting systems in the country. So you've looped the loop. And disenfranchising people with voter ID is not the solution. Turning out to vote, getting more people to register, and getting more people to participate, and encouraging them and educating them is the way we win elections, not disenfranchise.
Exactly. And for the last one of YouTube that I'll highlight, there's a few others, but we'll, like we did last week, we'll talk to you in the chat separately. The other one I want to highlight is by, Mithril 1584 on our video around how you can't fix stupid, but we can fix fat. He says, or they say, she says, are you a woman? I don't know. There is nothing more delusional than a delusional woman convincing herself she's perfectly rational.
Says a man, probably. Cool. Glad I asked you.
With a dumb username.
Wish I gave a fuck what you thought.
Don't care.
Anyways, moving on.
Next insult. That one didn't work.
Next misogynist. Moving on.
So right on to TikTok. Someone said, you should have seen it when the dragon was there. I'm assuming your trip in Disneyland and the fever dream.
See, that's what I was waiting for, was the dragon, because then the dragon caught itself on fire and they had to take it out. But I had thought they put it back in. So for this very wise user, yes. I was waiting for the dragon. I didn't realize they took it out after it caught on fire. I was very disappointed.
So, Jesus, some of you need hobbies. Prove Me Wrong 03 says, in our video in our clip about how we need to defend democracy, basically, and how many people have said, relax, it won't happen here. Don't you know, if you've heard about this thing called midterm elections, we have one of those coming up in November. Voting for Democrats in massive numbers and thus giving control of Congress to Democrats is how we will protect our democracy.
Sure. Gotta get them there first. Gotta have an election first.
You gotta have an election first. And also, friend, prove me wrong. Prove me how you're going to protect voters. Prove me we have ICE at airports. And this is a trust run to be ICE at polling locations. So prove me wrong. Prove me people will be safe.
We're just fucking talking about this over the weekend, right? The whole thing where they're like, we're going to send ICE to the airports. Steve Bannon's dumb, ugly ass comes on and was like, this is a test for the midterm election, so we can send ICE to the polls. Okay, let's break it down for them, Marie. When we were in our former jobs, we did a heck of a lot of voter protection. So it's not just educating people about the election, telling who they should and should not vote for, educating them about how to get their ballots or go to the polls in person, whatever they feel best about. The whole part of it was there is a chilling effect on people going to the polls in person when police presence is there. Now, sometimes police have to be called because people act unruly. But the goal always is get the police in, get them out, and de-escalate the situation so that people feel safe going to the polls. Because, fun fact, a lot of, especially Black and brown people, don't feel safe when there's police around.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder why. So we would always try and have poll watchers there to get those people in, to get cops in and out of those polling locations. If they were necessary, fine. But if we could de-escalate it without calling the police, that was always, always the goal. So if you send ICE to a polling location, it doesn't matter if there's undocumented people there or not. I don't feel comfortable, and I'm a fucking citizen, going over to my polling place and interacting with the police or with ICE.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a white woman. So why are Black and brown people gonna want to go and interact with people when we just saw two innocent human beings shot and killed in the street in Minnesota by ICE agents? My husband, white bearded man, sat next to an ICE agent on a plane yesterday. This ICE agent felt incredibly comfortable talking to my bearded white man of a husband because he apparently thought Nick was a Trump voter, because Nick apparently looks like one. To his surprise, to the ICE agent's surprise, Nick is not a Trump voter. Nick educated him on why he should be ashamed of himself as an ICE agent. These ICE agents are too comfortable in our neighborhoods, in our streets, intimidating every single person they interact with. So I don't want to hear about any excuses as to why or why not ICE agents should be showing up at everyday places, including polling locations. It is dangerous and they don't belong there. Period. Sorry, I had to rant on that because I was so pissed off about it.
Don't worry, we just need to sit and wait till the elections. Everything will be fine.
Yeah, everything's gonna be fine. We're gonna vote for Democrats and everything's gonna be fine. Because the Democrats have done so fucking much to save us with their strongly worded letters. They're gonna save us, Maria. Don't you know?
Yeah. I mean, we have a massive voter ID bill that the
That will
Democrats...
literally be on the but don't forget, we have one on the ballot this year in Nevada. That's what people forget.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be real easy. This one will trigger you because of our previous work by Bengal fan 11164. Are you two not following the courts? Lawsuits have been filed to serve as a check to the executive branch.
You're flashed it.
Yeah, we know. We actually worked on that for 10 years. Thanks.
So yes, we follow the courts very closely. I don't know if you've noticed lately, but the Supreme Court was taken over by Trump appointees. And the right, historically, has done an excellent job appointing lifetime nominees to federal benches up and down the federal court system. So the right has a disproportionate amount of judges making rulings on cases that matter to people like us. And those cases now are going before judges, and then they go up to the Supreme Court, where ultimately things are being overturned. So sure, we're paying attention to the courts, but the courts are not the backstop they once were. So please do not rely on the courts, because you're going to end up with Roe versus Wade overturned.
Yeah. And, there's this thing like going through the courts before you really get a resolution. And that's okay when the system is working normally. We're not normal in normal times now, friends.
Maria, can you talk about the way that things used to be with like a friendly handshake in democracy, or the norms with which our democracy used to work under, but instead maybe we should have made those like laws, because handshakes and norms just don't work for Trump supporters.
Usually you would be able, if you were either working in government as in one of the various cabinet areas or being an elected official, you worked in the best interest of that. So of whatever you're serving and for your constituents. And you would negotiate in good faith, across party lines, across the aisle. And certain things have affected that. Like, for example, Trump has a cult and they're doing anything they can do to appease him, because also they get power and they get money when they make him happy. And one of the big things that is affecting all of this is that from Congress to people working in the White House and in various parts of government, you can make money either through, I don't know, giving contracts to Kristi Noem's friends in her old state to film commercials, or betting in Polymarket that we're going to bomb Iran at 11 p.m. and you get $1 million. Those kinds of things, we have no backstops against all of these things because we thought that good people in good conscience and good faith would be in government. And we have the complete opposite now, at least in the White House and a lot of Congress.
A handshake and a deal.
Nope. Usually you'd be able to, negotiate and discuss and disagree, Republican and Democrat and whoever else, and then you could go have a beer and friends. That doesn't exist anymore. And you know who ruined that? Republicans. MAGA.
MAGA specifically.
MAGA specifically, because that's also why you've lost many Republicans.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, it's why you lost people like my husband. He would not
Mhm.
associate with the party after Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He says the party left him, not the other way around. We have lots of friends in state that are Republicans who are normal, everyday, regular Republicans. And in state, the government still works and you can still operate by working across the aisle. That doesn't work anymore because MAGA land has changed that federally.
Exactly. Yeah. A few more. Kira Stark says, wait, y'all complained when gas was under $2. No, friend. And complaining again because they're back to Biden era prices. And one, when were they $2? Under $2. And two,
she watched the State of the Union where he lied to them all.
And Kira ends with clowns. I think you're the clown, Kira, for believing in Trump.
Yes, we're the clowns. There's this wonderful thing called Google. And if you just Google what you respond before you respond and maybe educate yourself just a tiny bit, you won't sound so stupid when you reply.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly.
And what's so funny about that segment was we were literally reading from actual sources when we did that segment on gas.
Flew over Kira Stark's head. Clown.
Special people. Right over there.
And about 3 more. There's a lot more. And like YouTube, we'll talk to you in the chat if we didn't bring up your comment. This person actually brings something good, but I make that face because you have a lot of numbers in your name. At J5178942, you do bring up a good point to the relax, it won't happen here, when are we going to save democracy? As this person says, we would, but most of us live paycheck to paycheck and we need to work overtime to buy gas and get to work. And that is very valid, Jay. It is very valid. I used to work retail, double shifts. It is tough. It is horrible to do that. And yeah, you end up not having the capacity to do it. And I would submit to you that we're not asking you to do it. We're asking the people who ask for your votes. We're asking for the people that are supposed to represent you. And not just elected officials, but organizations, communities. We all need to be in this together if we have the capacity to do so, because there are people like you who live paycheck to paycheck and will be affected by this before anyone else is.
It'll take all of us to change this nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And just do what you can. And if you can't, it's okay to take a break. And second and last one, we're going to end with a really good one. But this one,
69.
At Broody Gaiman says, just say that you're fine with them killing 20,000. I assume this is about Iran. Just say that you're fine with them killing 20,000 protesters and be done with it. You would rather our government kill their own people in the tune of tens of thousands than admit the whole world does not like Iran right now. I would disagree because we have a lot of disinformation about the entire region. I think it was 80% of the Iranians were not in support of their government or their leader, their entire government regime. That still doesn't mean we should bomb them. At Broody Gaiman.
No. No, still doesn't mean we should bomb them. And also, it wasn't about the protesters because Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about people.
He doesn't give a shit. He literally, listen, Broody Gaiman, look at Trump today when he was asked who is going to manage the Strait of Hormuz if it gets opened, because, surprise, surprise, it's not open. And he said, well, when we open it, I assume it'll be me and the Ayatollahs. Nothing's changing.
This was never about the protesters, friends. And if you think it's about the protesters, again, go to Google. Just do a search. Read an AP article about what this is actually about, and then get back to us in the comments. Maybe educate yourself before you pop off.
Yeah. And provide sources, provide
And of
links.
course, protesters should never be killed. Not in this country, not in Iran, not anywhere. They should be able to voice their opinions about their government, against their government, without the threat of being killed in the
Yeah.
street.
Yep.
But Donald Trump is not the messiah you think he is. He
Mm-hmm.
used those protesters being killed as an excuse to bomb the shit out of Iran because Israel was wanting us to do it and has been itching to do it for years. So
Exactly.
please do not make an excuse for Donald Trump. That is not, he was not doing it to save the protesters. I hate to break it.
Yeah. Sorry. This is a really good one. It's actually super poetic, literally. And I just read that you said you made a poem at Yoda's Beasts. And it's a little bit motivational from my skimming.
Please.
I made a poem. It's called The Spoken Truth. Our democracy hangs by a thread, and before enough people wake, the evil spreads. The good ones are falling, the righteous end up dead. We ask our questions but get silence instead. In a time like this, there is no room for banter, no patience for the spin. Love that. No mercy for the slander. They hand us pretty words like some hollow grantor, while truth bleeds out and lies grow faster and grander. We hold these truths, or we used to, once, that all are created equal, not just for the months when it suits the powerful, the cunning, the stunts of men who trade in fear and leave the people as fronts. We carry our articles, our rights, our independence written in the blood of those who broke for their independence. But fear has made us bow to false transcendence, to those who rule by manufactured condescendence. When a long train of abuses has worn the people down, when the governed have been stripped of voice and crown, it is not just our right, it is our duty to the ground, and our fathers bled upon to turn the ship around. We depend on them to tell us what we want to hear. We let them dress their poison up and call it clear, but strip the words away, and all that's left is fear, the one weapon they have, perfected year by year. So hear this, we are watching. We are not asleep. These truths are still self-evident, ours to keep. The thread still holds, and it runs long and deep. We did not come this far to fall, to bow, or to weep.
Very good. That's a great way to end this segment.
Comment
Hallelujah. Amen.
of the year. That is
Woo!
amazing.
Good
That
poem.
is amazing, Yoda's Beast. Seriously. Good job.
Very, very
That
good.
gave me chills.
Yeah, bump that in the chat for everybody. That's amazing. Great job.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Yoda, for sharing.
All right. All
Well,
right.
thank you everyone for your comments.
Keep them coming, friends. Even if you're wrong, we want to hear from you. We'll let you know. All right. So, what the hell's going on? What's the local lowdown this week, Maria? What nonsense is happening around Nevada?
Oh, Las Vegas businesses are struggling because gas prices keep spiking. Thought everything was fine. Yeah, so now, it's not just affecting people that are putting gas in their tanks, but the businesses of Las Vegas are struggling.
So last week we did a press conference, the Retail Association with AG Ford, about tariffs. And this came up because we were at Lucy's Ethiopian restaurant and he was talking about, the restaurant owner was talking about gas prices, tariffs, and how tariffs have obviously caused his business to costs to go up because he gets his goods from Ethiopia. So obviously tariffs. And then just the price of everything has gone up. So he's a tiny small business, plus tourism is down in Las Vegas. So he's a tiny small business who is now dealing with lower numbers of people coming in the door, gas prices skyrocketing, cost of goods skyrocketing, tariffs impacting him. Now he's talking about having to shut his business down because he can't afford to make ends meet. He's barely making any money and has to keep a restaurant open. This is happening more and more to people because the cost of everything is a problem. And there is an affordability crisis in this country. And Donald Trump's out here bombing the shit out of another country, causing havoc around the world, yet refuses to deal with the affordability crisis head on. And then we have people like Joe Lombardo a few weeks ago, who's being interviewed by John Ralston, and says that Nevadans need to feel a little bit of pain. How much more pain do Nevadans need to feel? Like, how is that a real thing?
Like, Joe, I'm not even going to call you Joe because that quote is insulting.
Bro, Joe.
So you're Joe now. Yeah. Like, bro, seriously? Like, we went through COVID here in Vegas. It ruined people's lives because of the massive layoffs and everything we had to go through with theater. And then we had to figure out how to recover from that economically, mentally, everything, and you say 6 years later, 5 to 6 years later, that we need to feel a little pain, we're done with the pain, Joe. Remember when we had a governor that was like crying because he felt
Empathetic.
the pain that people were feeling? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Empathetic.
was like,
And
I feel you, I understand.
we all made fun of Steve, but here we are. At least he
Hmm.
understood the human plight. At least he felt bad for average Nevadans. This guy's out here like, oh, you need to feel a little pain. Why?
Why?
People haven't
Why?
suffered enough
So we can eliminate sanctions on Russia's oil so that all the money goes to Putin? No.
via Donald Trump.
Mm,
Please.
mm-mm.
Well, we'll put this in the chat. If you're experiencing higher gas prices, I know everybody else in MAGA land thinks we're delusional and that it's not real, but it's absolutely real. So, hate to break it to you. Nobody's complaining. Gas was never $2 a gallon. Hate to break it to you. It maybe was like in, early 2000s, but it hasn't been in recent years. So,
Hmm.
no, we're not just complaining because it's Donald Trump. We're complaining because it's insane.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, poll. This is in the Nevada Independent for their good journalism that they do every week, and we quote them a lot. So go on and look at their site. That's an excellent source for news, the Nevada Independent. Poll.
Hmm.
Nevadans oppose nationalizing elections. Split on narrowing mail voting law. It's because people don't understand vote by mail. Although there were some election policies with bipartisan support, partisan divides arose in other areas, particularly related to mail ballots. All right. Well, let's talk about nationalizing the election, man. Why is
Hmm.
it a bad idea to nationalize the election, and why, oh why did, when we set out to be a country, when we set all this stuff in motion, why did we not go to a nationalized election system, Maria?
One of the main things, it's because it's the least secure thing you can do for your elections, because it's easy to steal an election if it's all in one place. So
Let's talk
it,
about Latin America and how they often do this.
yeah, because, we are fans of regime change no matter what. And so we've done our share of stealing elections in other countries, and we help people in Latin America, many other countries. And all you have to do is go to the federal center. Many people call it the Center for Voters or the agency, whatever it is. You literally just have to either break into their office, hack into it, etc. There was a case in Honduras, not in this election, but the previous election, where they did hack into their system. And actually, the news ended up getting false election reports from the election center, but the head of the election center had a USB drive and disconnected the real results from the internet because she knew this was coming and told reporters to wait, but many reporters went with it anyway. And then hours later, they got the real results, and surprise, surprise, massively different than what was originally being reported. That's why you don't do it, because it's extremely easy to do it. Whereas in the United States, where we're divided not only by state, but then you divide by city, by county, by district, however it works in your state, and then you go all the way down to the precinct level. This means that you have to hack into, especially for national elections, or break into thousands upon thousands of systems of voting, because also they're all different depending on what's best for the state or the county. So that's why.
There was an even more basic reason why this never was put into place in this country too, is they didn't want a dictator in place who was going to cancel the damn election and put himself or herself into
Also
power.
that.
Period.
Also that. Stealing
That was
from
in
the
the,
inside.
like, literally before technology, before advanced voting systems like we have now, the very, 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 very basic reason is if you decentralize an election, it makes it much harder for a dictator, emphasis on dick in this case with
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump,
Small one.
a dictator to take over and manipulate the election and manipulate the results or cancel the election, which is all things that Donald Trump is now circulating around.
Mm-hmm.
That is why we have a decentralized election system. So this article from the Nevada Independent is very interesting because a couple things are happening in this. Number one, the poll that they quote was conducted on behalf of Right Count Nevada. Well, it's in the name, folks. It's a right-wing GOP
What?
nonprofit led by former Republican Governor Bob List and former state senator Heidi Seavers Ganser, both
Mm.
Republicans. And it's to restore trust in our elections.
Mm.
Interesting.
Mm.
Found in this poll that some bipartisan support among Nevadans, while other topics such as trust and vote by mail drew significant partisanship. Shocked. It's like the cult leader, Donald Trump, is telling them not to trust vote by mail, even though the Republicans in Nevada disproportionately voted by mail. But what do I know? The poll, which was done by the Terrence Group, a GOP pollster, and revealed exclusively to the Nevada Independent in this article, surveyed 600 people from February 3rd to February 26th and has a margin of error of 4.1 percentage points. That means it could be skewed either way. President Donald Trump has called to, quote, nationalize elections. If you don't believe me, it's actually linked here in the article, so you can source it, friends. Donald Trump has sourced in here called to nationalize elections, which is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
80% of respondents and 61% of Republicans said the federal government should only have a limited oversight role. The U.S. Constitution gives state legislatures authority to oversee times, places, and manner of holding elections, while Congress can pass election-related laws that the states must follow. Nevadans are more positive about how our state is running elections than they are about how elections are run elsewhere. Well, they should, because Nevada has an excellent election system. That
Mm-hmm.
sentiment was particularly pronounced among Democrats because we actually believe voting is real and the election results are not rigged and like voting systems work.
Mm-hmm.
People's suspicions and worries and concerns are all about the system in general, particularly at the national level, and not at the motives or behavior of election workers and the people who operate and run elections at the state level. Interesting. So, yeah. So you can look this up. People on the right don't believe in vote by mail, even though they disproportionately voted by mail in Nevada, which is
Mm-hmm.
insane. And if they get rid of vote by mail, it's going to hurt the Republicans. I'm just putting that out there as a nonpartisan statement. This is going to hurt Republicans.
Yeah.
This is going
Especially
to
those
hurt
rural
all.
voters.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead,
Mm-hmm.
get rid of it. Your
Mm-hmm.
people are the ones that are going to suffer the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, we say this every time we talk about this, but I'm going to say it again for the trolls in the bots in the chat. Nevada has one of the best election systems in the country. Our election system is modeled other places.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Stop.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Stop with tinfoil hats and conspiracy theories.
Good times. Last thing we have is Turning Point Action, now that it's done with its RIP Charlie Kirk tour extravaganza, is setting up shop in Vegas, hoping to add Nevada to its red wall.
Erica Kirk was there. I wonder, if Nick died today, tomorrow, God forbid, I don't know that I'd be like, let's go throw swag out on a stage in Vegas and like open a new office.
You're not going to throw shirts from a machine or something, go woo with a glitter shirt on.
Yeah, I don't think 8 months later I'd be like, oh my God, my husband was horrifically and tragically murdered, because that's what happened. And I'm going to go out and, be on stage. I just don't know that that's how I'd handle it.
And not talk about like addressing the actual reason he was killed, like someone with a gun that wanted to do harm was able to get access
Especially,
to that gun.
yeah, at a public place where free speech is supposed to be open and protected.
Yeah, yeah. Like, no, that's not okay.
You listen, I guess you want to come here, you want to open an office, good luck to you. I mean, here's the thing, and this is important. Turning Point has already been in the high schools in Vegas for a long time. In fact, there was a reporter who called our friend Akiko today to talk about that because Akiko's son was one of the Arborview 9 who was harassed at Arborview and threatened with his life because he was Black. And there was a Turning Point group there, and there's been various others that popped up since, and usually they're little white kids who run around acting like little MAGA twats. So I don't have a lot of patience for Turning Point. I don't view them like some of the other more conservative groups that we've worked with in the past, because sometimes we loop the loop and work with some of these groups.
Mhm.
Turning Point is not one of the ones that I would work with because I view them as a radical extremist group.
Yeah.
And a lot of their rhetoric is pretty hate-filled, similar to Charlie Kirk's.
Yep, exactly.
I'm
You want to
good.
zoom out on that?
It just like leaves a bad taste in my mouth when I'm like, you're gonna parachute into Nevada with your nonsense. I mean,
in
like I
your
said,
glit
I know they were already in the high schools and we should be weary of that, but like, ugh,
yeah. Now we just need her parachuting with a glitter dress on.
she just does the most. Again, I just don't. What do I know? I wouldn't be mourning like that if it was my husband. Is all I'll say.
Mm.
God, we're back onto mail ballots. Jesus Christ!
Yeah, it's almost like when
Ah,
we meant like, you know, when Prove Me Wrong said that it's gonna be
prove me wrong.
like, we're just gonna vote Democrats in and it's gonna be fine. We literally have like 3 stories coming up that prove we might not even get there, or
Yeah.
it might not be the way you think, friend, because the Supreme Court is skeptical of allowing states like Nevada to count mail ballots that arrive after Election Day.
Oh God. Okay,
Annette,
hang
why
on.
is that fucked up?
Hang on. Hey, we got to go back to something else because again, it's an article here. Before we get to anything else, okay? Can we talk about why the Democrats are not going to save? Just for the people in the chat who are like lefty liberals who maybe, still have some like delusional hope that Chuck Schumer and others are going to save us. Bria, go.
The first one that pops into my mind, how long did it take them? And I'm not talking about individuals who went to ICE detention centers and we don't even need to go. We can go further than that. Right when Trump went in to the USAID offices and to all the Doge affected offices. And Democrats on their own, some of them would go and try and see, but there was no concerted effort to actually verify what Doge was doing while they were cutting all those jobs. They kind of just sat there and went, oh my God, we can't believe this is happening.
I don't know what to
And then
do.
ICE came in. By the way, we approved for ICE is the biggest in the world for any law enforcement agency. And how long did it take for there to be a concerted effort to actually have federal legislators work with protesters, work in the community, and actually see what's going on in detention centers? Because we have kids that are trying to kill themselves. And so where is the oversight for these detention centers? Where is the leadership from? Like, it shouldn't have to be just members of the community talking about this. That's the problem.
So, the reason I bring this up before we get into any of the rest of this is there's 2 articles on CNN that I feel like should set the tone for all those in the chat who are like, we're just going to vote and the Democrats are going to save us. Sure. Would it be better to have a Democrat in office than a Nazi?
Fair.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Right? Fine. Cool. I get you there. I'm with you. Until we get to this part, let's read what's currently Tuesday, March 24th evening. I am reading on CNN currently. We will put this article in the chat for all of you who are like, the Democrats are going to save us. We're just going to vote for them and it's going to be fine because they're going to write a strongly worded letter. Details are still being ironed out, and it's not done until it's done. Democrats, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, have said they need to get some bona fide concessions. Some Senate Republicans are grumbling. President Donald Trump doesn't sound thrilled and has blown up deals at the last minute before. But the 2 sides seem to have made serious progress. And Trump hasn't rejected anything, even if he's a little sour. The title of this article, which we will put in the chat on CNN, are Democrats caving on a shutdown again? You want me to give you the Cliff Notes version, everyone?
Yes. Yes, they are.
Because God forbid, we hold the Republicans' feet to the fire. We're terrible at messaging. The Republicans are who we should be blaming for the lines at the airports, for ICE being in airports. The Dems should have gotten out ahead of that and messaged that ahead of time. They knew he was going to pull some shit like that. You and I have been talking about this shit for weeks, Maria.
Mm-hmm.
But the Democrats are over here wringing their hands. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do?
We
can't
didn't know it would get this far.
we can't actually have a position on something that's going to be hard. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
We have talked about this in numerous episodes. And yes, will we hold Donald Trump's dumb cheeseburger blood ass to the feet to the fire? Absolutely. Every day of the week, 100 times a day. But these Democrats are just as bad. In fact, what was my motto when we worked at our previous employer? I always said, I would rather work with a Republican than a Democrat. And the reason why is Republicans at least shank me in the face and I know it's coming. The Democrats are the ones that fucking stab me in the back. Every single time. Because they cave, or they lie, or they say they're going to do one thing when they get elected, and then they do something else and act like a fucking Republican anyways. I am tired of them. Tired of. And yes, do I disproportionately work for Democrats? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because fundamentally, I believe in things like choice, in marriage equality, freedom over my body, voting rights.
Oh, radical.
At this point, I feel fucking radical. But if I could be a nonpartisan, I would at this point, because I'm so sick and tired of these Democrats. Not necessarily the local ones. The local ones are better. The federal ones make me insane.
Yep.
Truly.
Exactly. Yeah. Everything will be fine. We'll just vote them in.
Hang on. So there's a second article before we get to the rest. Because remember, our commenter earlier said, Maria, Annette, why don't you just rely on the courts? I don't understand. Don't you guys follow the courts? What's wrong with you? Are you dumb? Duh. Courts. Why? You should be following the courts. They're going to stop everything. That's our checks and balances. Just stop paying attention. It's NBC. Next article, currently on CNN, Tuesday, March 24th. It'll be in the chat for you as well, friends. The court's conservatives could significantly alter the 2026 election.
What?
How? How, Maria, could they significantly alter the election?
Oh, tell me how.
Well, it's behind a fucking paywall, so I'm gonna have to pay to get it. Bastards. Anyways, we'll pay for it so we can get it. But the fact of the matter is, here's what's gonna happen. All of the, because I already know what's gonna happen. The courts, which are disproportionately now made up by Donald Trump appointees or Republican appointees from lifetime appointments, they're the ones who are going to see all these election-related lawsuits, friends, and then it's going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's going to rule in favor of these Republican plans. That's how the courts are going to reshape our elections, specifically the conservatives, which there are 6 of them, the majority on the Supreme Court, friends, 6 conservatives on the Supreme Court. That's how they're going to remake the 2026 election. We'll put it in the chat.
It'll be fine, though. Election's gonna go fine.
What's wrong with you? Just rely on the courts, Annette. Why are you whining?
No
Why are
problem.
you whining? Oh, democracy's fine, Maria. Why are you so worried? Why are you so negative all the time?
Because I live in reality.
Literally. Okay, speaking of where dreams go to die, the United States Supreme Court skeptical of allowing states to count mail ballots that arrive after Election Day. So let's talk about this article in the Nevada Current, our dear friends over at the Nevada Current. And then let's talk about why mail ballots arrive after Election Day and why that's important. And you've watched the whole system take place in person. Talk about it, Maria.
Boy, where to start? So, mail-in ballots. Well, let's backtrack.
Start at the beginning.
Civics 101. Election Day is usually on a certain date. Like, for example, today in Florida, many people voted, and Trump is now represented in the state legislature by a Democrat. But anyhow, so you have a certain date, right? And people register to vote in that state or wherever you are voting by that date, by the close of those polls, are allowed to vote. Cast your ballot. So I can walk in to wherever my polling location is, and if I am in line by the time it closes down, I am still allowed to vote. That should be applied to people who, for whatever reason, because you live in the middle of fucking nowhere and you want to vote, and
or you have 3 jobs.
Or you have 3 jobs and you got to walk to work everywhere because gas is expensive, and or whatever other reason, you vote on Election Day, but you can't go there, so you're going to mail it in. You're allowed to do that. The secret, it has to be postmarked, right? Because we have a postal system in this country that does things like stamp. Sometimes it goes not only the date, but the time it was received by the post office. And so what they do, if they get that mail ballot, is they go, Kira Starks, or Prove Me Wrong, ballot came in or was put in the mail on March 24th, but it was past the time that it was allowed. So sorry, Kira, your vote doesn't count, because technically it would be like going into a polling location after, or if it was postmarked to the 25th or whatever. And the reason why we're supposed to count those votes, it's because oh, I don't know, we're supposed to count every single vote and not just guess or not just take certain people's votes.
Well, and the mail system doesn't work 100% of the time that way. So you get it in by a certain time, which is election day at 5 p.m. Sometimes it takes a few days to get to the main post office and then to get to the election department. What's
Mhm.
that mail? I've seen mail, be postmarked 2 days before an election and show up after election day.
Mhm.
It's also just how the mail works.
Yeah, weird,
Crazy,
weird.
huh?
But you know what's funny about all of this?
The Supreme Court's gonna save us.
No, story 2, because spoiler alert, Trump voted by mail.
Of course he did. And so did the majority of Republicans.
Yeah, Trump voted by mail. And by the way, don't tell me that it's because, oh, he's in the White House and he's president, blah, blah, blah.
Who
President
cares?
Obama and President Biden constantly voted in person. And that motherfucker is always in Florida at Mar-a-Lago. Why couldn't he vote in his precinct?
So this article from the Nevada Current says the U.S. Supreme Court, remember we should just rely on the courts. The
Yeah.
U.S. Supreme Court's conservative justices, so this is how they're going to remake the election, everyone. Remember, I was just saying that? On Monday, appeared skeptical of the validity of mail in ballots, I'm sure, because that's what MAGA told them to be, of mail in ballots that arrived after Election Day in a case that could potentially affect hundreds of thousands of voters during the upcoming midterm elections. And if you don't think the Supreme Court's not going to act on other cases, you're wrong. The High
Wrong.
Court heard arguments on whether federal law overrides a Mississippi law that requires mail-in ballots that are postmarked on or before Election Day to be counted as long as they arrive within 5 business days of the election. 14 states have similar laws which extend a grace period to ballots that arrive through the mail after polls close. That includes Nevada. Several conservative justices, I'm shocked, raised concerns with allowing ballots to arrive after Election Day, including whether voters could recall ballots once they've shipped them, but before they arrive at election offices. Justice Brett Kavanaugh, true freedom fighter, questioned whether late arriving ballots risk undermining election confidence. No, Brett, your existence threatens my confidence of this entire system. This is his quote, the longer after Election Day any significant changes in vote totals take place, the greater the risk that losing side will cry the election has been stolen. He should know because that was his side. Kavanaugh said, quoting from an analysis by a New York University law professor. So remember, friends, when you think we can rely on the courts as a backstop because the courts are fair and impartial, just remember that Brett Kavanaugh exists. Drunken, beer-loving Brett Kavanaugh.
It's all going to work, and I believe in the courts.
What's wrong with you?
Don't you know?
MAGA's got our best interests at heart. Why are we complaining so much? Gas was $2, Maria. Donald Trump told us so. Why would we question dear leader?
Everything is going to be better once the Democrats get in.
They're going to save us. They're not going to side with the Republicans and make dumb deals that they'll never uphold.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, please. Have faith in our federal elected officials to do something. Okay, what other disappointing news do we have today?
Oh, we're deploying troops to Iran.
Oh, yeah, like
more troops. Yeah, like army troops. Everyone. So, yeah.
But Donald Trump claims he's talked to the highest ranking leader, even though we've bombed the shit out of all their other high ranking leaders. But he's talked to the highest ranking leader. So have no fear, Maria.
The head bitch in charge in Iran. He's talked to
Whatever
them.
that is.
And everyone in the Iranian government is saying, literally, no, we haven't talked to him. When even, I think, Israel said, no, that's not true.
So this is going to give you a whole lot of hope. You ready for this one? Because this is what's currently on CNN as we're taping this. Update. Trump says J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio are in talks with Iran to end the war.
Oh, everything's fine.
Those are the two that give me the most confidence that the United States government is going to do anything real.
Yep.
We sent our finest.
The guy who sold his morals, Marco Rubio, and the guy who changed his name like 50 times, J.D. Vance. Those are the people we can trust. Got it.
When I think of two respected, honorable, courageous leaders. Marco Rubio and JD Vance. Those are the two motherfuckers that come to my mind.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, approximately 1,000 U.S. soldiers preparing to deploy to the Middle East to be available for Iran operations. Trump says U.S. is talking to, quote, most respected figure in Iran. You just gotta laugh.
You don't even know where the country is or what language they speak.
He couldn't point to it on a map. He barely knows where Mexico is.
Yeah.
Fucking Christ. You know, I just sit back and think to myself, this is the karma this country deserves. Yeah, we deserve this.
Many people around the world for many years have said the U.S. doesn't know much about actual suffering, and this is not a Joe Lombardo, we need to feel pain type of thing. It is a legitimate, our system has never been tested, and it's about time.
And we are
because
spoiled brats.
Exactly. We are spoiled brats who have gone across the world and done this to other countries. Like exactly what's
Horrible,
happening here, we've
vile
done.
shit to other people. Yes. God. Well, we'll see. I mean, next week we could still be in a war with Iran. My guess, we probably will be. Because even if you, as we all know from, when we were children, you could be George W. Bush and stand on an aircraft carrier with the sign mission accomplished behind you, and you actually didn't accomplish shit. Because it's still a fucking mess there 25 years later.
Yeah. We got ISIS out of it, though. So good job, everyone.
Yeah, we really mission accomplished, everyone, because there was a sign.
I wonder what terrorist organization is going to come out of this. Like, will Al Qaeda have a resurgence? Like, what is it? Like, we got ISIS out of the Iraq War. What are we going to get out of the next Persian Gulf War?
I mean, who knows? I mean, we're always out there stirring up terrorist cells and cartels. That's what nobody realizes. We're the ones funding those motherfuckers. But you're right. The government's going to save us. Okay. You got me off. I love your story. But we won!
But we won!
But we won!
Yeah, I thought we won. I thought it was complete.
So there is something there's two things we didn't talk about. The first one is, and this one just came in 4 hours ago, so we should talk about it. Jury finds Meta liable in case over child sexual exploitation on its platforms. So, and that is what court did that. CNN is really killing me with these paywalls.
I think it was one in New Mexico.
Yeah, it was one in New Mexico. Yeah, I can see it up there. It's in New Mexico, but I was trying to find more information about it. CNN, you really have shit the bed on these paywall nonsense. Let me look it up. Hang on. NPR. We'll go to NPR.
Yes.
Real news outlet. New Mexico. Jury determined Tuesday that Meta knowingly harmed children's mental health and concealed what it knew about child sexual exploitation on its social media platforms. A verdict that signals a changing tide against tech companies and the government's willingness to crack down. The landmark decision comes after a nearly 7-week trial as jurors in a federal court in California have been sequestered in deliberations for more than a week about whether Meta and YouTube should be liable in a similar case. The answer is yes. All social media platforms need to do a better job protecting people, especially children. Do fucking better.
Yep.
They're out here making it impossible to run a fucking ad on their platforms, yet they're letting child predators run free and Nazis, literal Nazis, run free on their platform. It makes no sense to me.
And knowingly, I love that that was the decision, that it was, they know about this and they don't do anything about it.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So Meta and, the hellscape that is X, do better, as always, because you're disgusting. There was one more that I wanted to flag. The LaGuardia situation. So, plane is landing, fire truck, first responders responding to another emergency situation. Airport controller, who we all know the airport controllers are taxed beyond belief. So much is put on them. It is an impossible job at this point. Doesn't put two and two together that they're going to collide. Tells the fire truck to stop too late. Fire truck, plane collide, kills the two pilots. Absolutely horrific. Absolutely tragic. This is my question for you, though, and getting your thoughts on it, because I have a lot of thoughts on this. You saw what happened in Washington, D.C., where the helicopter ran into the plane,
Mhm.
killing everybody. You saw what happened now at LaGuardia, where this plane tragically runs into a fire truck. There have been tons of near misses. We know our airport people are taxed beyond belief because every time there's a fucking government shutdown, they're the ones who pay the price. And I'm not saying that the Democrats should cave on any of this. I am not saying that. But everybody's going to be shocked here in a minute. I saw an article where Ted Cruz was saying TSA, airport, various other things should be pulled out of
Mhm.
Homeland Security's budget, put into its own thing so
Mm.
that that when the government shuts down, the airports still function
Mm.
properly. Do you think that is a good idea? And do you think more effort needs to be made in airport safety? Because it's not the terrorists sneaking through with the 3-ounce liquid bottles anymore. It is our own people being taxed to the point where they can't do their jobs, and safety is being put at risk. What are your thoughts?
I totally agree with Ted Cruz.
Mark this day
Shocker.
down, everyone.
Radical. Never thought I'd see the day. I totally agree. And guess what? That's what the Democrats should be doing. And
Yeah.
by the fact that you have one Republican for it, that means, oh, there might be others. And what should you do? Organize and create a coalition to actually make that happen. Because that is actually very smart. And guess what? It's a long term solution because one thing Congress hasn't done in ages is actually pass a budget. So we're constantly doing these resolutions to fund things. Maybe while we figure all of that out, the agencies that make sure the flying tubes of steel in the sky fly well and safely. Maybe all of those things should be funded and everything else. It's like when in COVID, we said we tried to figure out what was essential versus non essential. Being able to get from point A to point B is essential.
Yes. Yes. I also think it makes people start to question airline safety because every time you
Mhm.
go on a plane, you think, is the control tower person tired?
Yeah.
Have they been
Yeah.
worked too much, right? Which is a legitimate thing. I'm not blaming our air traffic
No.
controllers. That's a legitimate thing that's happening. TSA people being treated horribly, not being paid while they're working, seeing all these call ups. I would do the same thing. I'm not fucking working if you're not paying me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of all that, now you got lines out the door. In Puerto Rico, they had to put up tents because it's so freaking hot. People were standing outside for hours. So now we put ice in the airports as a test, Steve Bannon's fucking test, so they can stand around and look macho. I just think rather than cutting an essential service or shutting down an essential service every time there's a government shutdown, because like you said, we can't pass a budget to save our lives because the Democrats and Republicans can't work together because it's nonsense in DC. Why not remove the airport funding, remove TSA funding, remove the air traffic controllers funding out of these budgets that are constantly being hit by these government shutdowns, which are going to happen until we pass a real budget, move them into their own thing. So this way they're not impacted when we need to hold ICE accountable, because that's what's really going on here. We're holding ICE accountable, which we should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I know the Democrats, there were a handful of Democrats who touted this plan before Ted Cruz glommed onto it. I know that. I've read. But Ted Cruz saying it is helpful because we have a crazy ass Republican president, and it's going to take Republicans and Democrats, I know this is crazy, working together to move that funding into its own separate thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Chuck Schumer, sit down with Ted Cruz and figure it out. Do your job.
Chuckles, do your job for once.
Do your job. You know who would do that?
Harry Reid. He's got to be flipping in his grave right now.
He's like, thank God I left when I did.
Dumb for them.
It'll be fine. We just elect all the Democrats and it's fine.
It's like
It's been-
Democrats. Everything's going to
it's-
be fine.
I believe the last Congress that passed a budget, if I'm not wrong, was Clinton, right?
Yeah, correct.
So, friend,
A
prove me
balanced
wrong.
budget. A
A
balanced
balanced budget. Yeah. And so prove me wrong. And everyone else out there, it's been both Republican and Democrat Congress leadership and just Congresses that have done. And why do they do this? Because they use all of these agencies, all of these things as political capital to
Yes.
play these games.
It is literally Donald Trump using TSA, using the fact that me and you have to stand in a line for 6 hours as a leverage point, as a pain point, as Joe Lombardo's, you got to feel a little pain to
Mhm.
get what they want. That is
Mhm.
all this is making you feel pain so they can manipulate the situation,
Mhm.
manipulate the idiot Democrats into doing what the Republicans want. That is all this is.
Mhm.
Because
Yep.
we are no longer negotiating with normal people. We are negotiating with terrorists when we negotiate with MAGA Trumplicans. Okay. Anyways, the more I look at this, the more irritated I get. So it's better
Just
this way.
bookmark election day on your calendar and remember it'll all be done by then.
Listen,
Fine.
all I care about right now, I'm focusing on Nevada primaries. For those watching, Nevada primary day is June 9th. I am solely focused on that right now. Then we'll move to the general election and if there will be one or not.
TBD. Currently.
TBD.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to our final section. Hot takes and headaches. Maria, what's your hot take or headache for the week?
Oof. My headache, I'm gonna sound terrible, is the weather. How is it 90 degrees?
I'm hot as fuck.
Seriously, like I sound like, is it raining where you are? But is it 95 degrees where you are? Because we are dying.
Yeah, I mean, I know Northern Nevada is not quite roasting like we are, but we are roasting down here.
Yeah, and it is March.
God, summer, my poor plants. I planted all these pretty flowers. I'm like, it's going to be a lovely spring.
The universe was like,
I planted them in like late January. I was like, oh, I'm going to get a lot out of them. I'm going to have like a long spring because I don't have to go to Carson City this year because we're not in session.
spring.
I'm gonna enjoy it. Luckily, my like fruits and vegetables are along the wall, so they're shaded. But the rest of my flower dead, crispy. I've been watering them every night, crispy, crispy. Tortoises are out, just wandering. Like, what the fuck am I doing out this early?
Yeah. Well, that's probably another way we won't have an election. We'll all burn by November.
I mean, that's if Donald Trump doesn't nuke us all first. So, never once during Barack Obama, during Joe Biden, did I wake up every morning and think to myself, what the fuck did we do this morning while I've been sleeping? Donald Trump's been up at least 3 hours longer than I have. What
Mm-hmm.
has happened while I slept? And I'm waking
Mm-hmm.
up at 6 or 7 in the morning. What has happened in the world since I went to sleep? I never did that. Now I do every day.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this next week. I was reminded by this today. We'll mark this down for next week because I don't have the energy. Nevada utility to Lake Tahoe. Find electricity elsewhere. This is what
Oh,
MV
Jesus.
Energy told Lake Tahoe. We'll put this in. That'll be in next week. So stay tuned, everyone. I'll have some hot takes on that next week because I have a lot of opinions about it. So we'll talk about that next week. All right, my hot take. Not
Mhm.
election, not Donald Trump,
Mm-mm.
not anything related to any of this nonsense. Maria, we have a celebration that we have to have together. Bravo is in production for the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Everyone, we're back, baby.
You know
We're
what?
back.
Put Andy Cohen in charge right now of the country.
Listen.
Make that man
Absolutely.
minority leader, everything. Just make that man. He will get things done.
Literally don't care who else comes back. You could give me no one else. I know Teresa Giudice will be there. I know
Oof.
Melissa Gorga will be there, and I know Dolores Catania will be there. Those are the three. That's all I fucking care about. I don't
The
give a shit about them.
trifecta.
I love them all, but I don't care. The trifecta will come back, and I actually get to watch New Jersey again.
They're like the TSA and airport security of funding. You need them to keep going.
And for those of you who want the origin story of why Annette Magnus loves Real Housewives so much, Maria is the reason Annette loves Housewives so much. Because for the longest time at our previous employer, I was like, no, I don't watch that trash TV. I don't, no. And her and another colleague of ours was like, Annette, you're going to love this. These people, these women are you. You have to watch The Real Housewives of New Jersey. These Italians, they will speak to you. I was like, no, I'm too good for that. And then I watched it and I was like, this is cinema.
And then
And that is when Maria and I came up with the term. Maria, what's the term that we use for all of this?
flip the
Do you
table.
remember? No.
Ratchet Piece Theater. Ratchet Piece Theater.
Kind of like Masterpiece Theater that used to be on PBS, but we call
Ratchet
it
Piece.
Ratchet Piece Theater.
Yeah.
And the most ratchet of all ratchet pieces is the New Jersey Housewives. No one compares.
Yeah. No.
No one.
You know what we should do? We should actually watch the episode and record ourselves reacting to them.
Listen, if y'all think I got hot takes on politics, you should see me
Ooh,
reacting to Real Housewives and Bravo TV. Ugh.
we'll have segments for 1 minute recess now. It'll be one show for politics, one show for what's going on at Ratchet Peace Theater.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. I've been watching the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Those bitches, they are wild. And then they got canceled this week because of The Bachelorette. Like, there's all
Yeah.
kind. You want drama? I mean, those bitches bring the drama like nobody else. But it's still not to
There's
the poetic level that is Teresa Giudice and company.
it's just no one compares.
No,
No one compares. Mm-mm.
I feel
No,
like that's where this. No one compares.
yeah, no one compares to Teresa Giudice and Melissa Gorga, especially when they're fighting.
But they're not fighting anymore, and I feel like there's so much potential there for, like, other
Mhm.
storylines to come in.
Mhm. Yeah.
Ugh. I saw that
Andy
news
Cohen will make
story.
it work.
It literally warmed my cold, dark heart, and I had been seeing the news stories, had apparently the Gorgas and the Judices had Christmas together. Gia's been talking to
Hmm.
her uncle again. Like, there's been a
Finally.
lot of warming going on. You had Dolores, who was on Traders. You got Dolores, who's helping with the Real Housewives of Rhode Island that's about to launch in April. So there's been a lot of stuff going on. They were all at BravoCon, but like now it sounds like it's finally coming back together.
The peace. That's real peace. That Andy Cohen. Andy Cohen
So
got real peace.
Andy Cohen should be the one sent to Iran to negotiate the
He,
peace deal.
yep, he will talk to the head bitch in charge and get things and go to
Mhm.
it. Go to Israel. Go to Russia. He'll solve everything.
If he can deal with these motherfuckers, he can deal with anybody. If he can deal with
Mhm.
Teresa Giudice, he can deal with anybody.
Mhm. Mhm.
Andy Cohen for president, everyone. Okay, so that's my celebration of the week.
Yay! Well, it's time for the final bell.
It's been another splendid episode, everyone. We're so thankful you've been here. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, share with your friends, talk shit in the comments. We want to hear from you. The more the merrier. And if you're wrong, we love it even more.
Yeah, please do, and we'll see you next week if there is a next week.
All right, everyone. Share this widely. We'll see you next week. Have a great week, everyone.
See y'all.